Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. It's a lot of processing and therefore a lot of purging, I guess, but we're here for it. Thank you, body, for doing your thing. You'll also notice I have a band-aid on my pinky because I stabbed myself today. Just being my hero self, trying to clean things with tools that are not made to do the thing that I am making it do, and then consequently stabbing myself and being in a lot of pain as a result. But my pinky's okay. But it's like still throbbing in like the center of my hand. Super funny. Whenever I'm cutting stuff, I see Rob like just looking in the corner of his eye, being like, "Can you just like, can you just like maybe cut with a bit more care and intention, please?" I'm like, "No, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's okay." Notice how some of the most potent medicine used by shamans also give an aggressive form of. Actually, yeah. Actually, though. I mean, yeah, puking is a huge form of moving energy through in ways that it really can't be moved otherwise, because it's like from your core, from your literal core. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Well, that's gonna be a great intro to this to this recording for everyone tapping in. We're talking about puking and how it's a phenomenal form of purging. Um, what's it called? I mean like organic puking that naturally occurs also. So before we get started today, for home economics, I would love to hear from the women and sisters who are present on the call live right now. What comes up for you when you feel into the words home economics? What what do you visualize? What roles do you envision in the home economics realm, like just overall what comes up for you? And I'd also love to know if you had home economics available to you as like a field of study in school. For example, when I was in middle school, home economics was actually mandatory for a few years, actually. So that was pretty neat. But yeah, you can share in the chat or you can share through your voice. And as always, you are encouraged to share through your voice throughout the teaching and transmission today. Anything that's coming up for you or coming alive for you. I always invite you to share and to bring more depth and width and breadth and height to the conversation. All of it, all the good stuff.
I had home ec in, I think it was 6th and 7th and 8th grade.
Amazing.
And then when I went back to Jamaica, we did the whole, like, it wasn't really home ec, it was called food and nutrition. So that was a mandatory class for, I guess, our equivalent of 11th, I guess, 10th to 11th grade, where we had to, like, we were using the oldest recipe book, like a recipe book you'd find in like your grandma's house,
Yes.
where it's got like termite holes through the pages. And it's got like your most typical Betty Crocker looking pie on the front, and all the pages were yellow and beige, like sepia, and that's what we cooked from.
I
So
love that so much. You that just really created such an image for me. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes.
I
So
was
good.
in bread in my class.
Ah, so good. So, so good. Wow, food and nutrition was mandatory. What a different world we would live in if that was the reality in every single country. That would be something else. Literally. Your immediate environment and the home within that you create and nurture. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Says Devin, for those watching the recording. Mm,
Gonna
mm-mm.
say too, in America, they didn't call it home economics, they called it, I have to ask my son what they call it because he also has to take it in school, but it's not called home economics. And it just makes me think about like like they taught us about nutrition, but it was like a falsehood of nutrition. Like it wasn't really a teaching. And I almost feel like the home economics that they taught in school was so industrialized, like the concept of it as well. Like the fake mechanical babies that you had to take care of, or wearing the belly, or they had like cooking classes and stuff, but they didn't, it was just about cooking recipes. It really wasn't intentional.
Yeah.
In America, at least, it wasn't very educational, I would say. It was like more, I don't know, like now that I like reflect on it, like felt very systematic.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I love this point. I mean, generally, I feel like the education system version of home economics, as always, has a certain interest vested in it, and it's a limited version and vision of the full spectrum reality. And it's always important to note that. Um, and this whole transmission and teaching is really my take on on home economics and what I feel is a holistic angle of home economics, if you will. And something that I feel some of you will appreciate to know is that home economics um, was brought into the education system to kind of corporatize, if you will, home economics. So to make it this more um, career-like thing that women could be proud of and feel honored by. That was like the original initial intention of it. And then, as per usual, I feel like a lot of things got lost in translation. And as I said, it wasn't a holistic field of study. So I'm really excited to see how today's conversation lands for you all. These are things that have just really been crystallizing in my field the last few years, but especially the last year. And I'm excited to just share it and externalize all of it and see where the conversation takes us. So I'm just gonna put the conversation up so I have everything. Again, as always, please share throughout if you feel the call. I'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, gonna make sure I have some of my little notes here, because you know me, there's always so much I'm trying to talk about. Okay, okay. I don't like the chat there. I'm gonna put you here. Okay, that's better. All right, and brightness. Okay. All the little mini things that happen for me to feel fully comfortable so I can just get in the zone. Also, this feels really far away. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. Okay. Thank you for your patience. So, the way that I'm going to start this conversation today is by talking about this understanding that really dropped into my awareness just a few months ago, being the word nerd that I am. I always knew, not always, but I'd say the last 5 years, I've known what the term economics means in terms of its etymology. Like I've always known that. And then in the last few months, it really, like the actual etymology of it really made sense to me. Like when I found out the etymology of it, I was like, okay, cool, yeah. But it wasn't that deep to me. And then just in the last few months, I was like, oh shit, this is deep. This is actually really deep. And this is like so connected to so many of the teachings that I bring. So I'm excited to share this with you. I'm such a word nerd. It's so funny and so lame and great. Okay, so the term economics finds its roots in the Greek words oikos, meaning house, and nomos, meaning law or management. So, in the truest sense, the etymology of economics is the art of managing a household. So, this etymology reinforces, first and foremost, the significance and the symbolic role that women have historically played and play as the primary managers of households. And what's important to note here is that through the emergence of the feminist movement, and through that, the devaluing of motherhood and the devaluing of holy matrimony and monogamy and the family unit and those types of things, the landscape has greatly shifted, orienting women towards economic empowerment in the conventional sense of the word. And over time, these socio-political motives and influences have led to an increased focus on women's economic power, empowerment, and their participation in the broader financial economy, which has decreased their overall participation in the original economy, so the home. And so this intricate management role was historically and symbolically entrusted to women, naming them as the original economists. So if you ever hear me say, from here on in, women are the original economists, this is what I mean by this. Women have always been the backbone and lifeblood of the home. And in more organic societies and cultures, their responsibilities included not just rearing children and maintaining homes, but actually managing resources and bartering goods and tending to land and stewardessing land and weaving clothes, foraging, preserving foods for the foreseeable seasons, and so much more. And this crucial role made them adept at managing scarce resources and efficiently and effectively, thus making them household economists long before the term economics was used in the conventional way that it is now. With the advent of industrialization, mechanization in organic societies, and modern capitalism, the definition of economics morphed drastically. So the integrity of the word economics was compromised. The economy, in conventional terms, began to value market transactions over unpaid labor like housework. this shift severely undervalued the contributions of women who were largely responsible for managing the home sphere, or as I call it, the original economy. Again, the feminist movement continued to gain this momentum and it became stronger. And there was this continued shift towards economic empowerment of women and their participation in the broader financial economy. And yes, it was a necessary shift because women at one point in human history and herstory did not have any rights when it came to finances, which I don't agree with either. And so it was a necessary shift because women for far too long had been relegated to the sidelines of the fiscal world. However, it consequently resulted in the devaluation of the role of women in the household. So the monumental contributions of women as mothers, as caregivers, as house managers, as stewardesses of land were systematically sidelined and demeaned and devalued and seen as less valuable, it's seen as less worthy and effectively disabled. So to paraphrase a sentiment made by Nancy Campbell, millions of women were lured from the home by humanists and feminists trying to find their fulfillment in their career outside the home. Millions of women have been deceived to think that being a home economist is an inferior task, when all along it is the greatest mission given to them. And I also desire to make it clear that a woman does not have to be a mother or have children in order to be considered a home economist. So you don't have to be a mother in order to realize your rightful role as a home economist in this life. Though it will definitely amplify that trajectory being a mother. In the sophisticatedly manufactured quest to empower women, we have overlooked an essential truth, being that women have always been empowered. They were and are the original economists, the primary managers of households, navigating the complexities of resource management long before these tasks were assigned a monetary value, and to masculine bodies as well. Their timeless and largely invisible labor laid the foundations of our modern economies, cultures, and societies. So we have to realize that valuing women's economic contribution does not necessitate undervaluing their role in the household. We live in a culture that has a very either or orientation and approach. It's like you can only be this and you can only be that. You can't be both of these things. You can't find harmony and coherence with both of these things. Our societal structures and political motives should focus on reinforcing the worth of women's work in both the domestic and public spheres, recognizing that we don't have to disable one to enable the other. Ultimately, in essence, we must not equate economic empowerment solely with the ability to participate in the broader financial economy. True empowerment is about recognizing, respecting, and revering the value of all kinds of labor, be it inside the home or inside a corporate boardroom, and really dissolving any hierarchy that exists around what is more valuable and what is less valuable. Economic theories and policies could do a better job of not attempting to measure women's contributions in the household, because I believe it's immeasurable. I believe it's not countable and not quantifiable. However, they could do a better job of simply acknowledging and affirming the valuable contributions that are being made in the household. And there's a thread that's alive for many of us with regards to feeling resonance with more traditional feminine roles and being home economists. This feeling of shame because we have been so programmed by the feminist movement that it's wrong, that it's dishonoring, that it's disempowering. And from a sociological perspective, I find it so fascinating that multiple generations of women have been convinced that being a housewife or a mother is dishonorable, is one of the most dishonorable things ever. And I also am not here for people completely rejecting anything that has to do with traditional values. And I'm not saying that that all traditional values are relevant still and actionable still, or even rooted in truth or love. However, I also do not believe that we should be discarding or disabling something just because it's traditional and therefore deemed problematic or outdated or obsolete. We live in a world that praises a lot of, quite frankly, dishonorable behavior under the guise of it being really empowered and really embodied. We live in a world where teenagers are even groomed by magazines like Teen Vogue to sell their bodies and their sexuality, like literal 16-year-olds. We live in a world where women get shamed and judged and ridiculed and told that they're disempowered for taking pride in taking care of their kids, their families, their homes. And so many people talk about how we have progressed so much and how liberated we are and empowered we are as women. Yet sometimes when you look at it from this lens, it feels like we've taken so many steps back in terms of what we value as a society, what we value in men, what we value in women, what we value in collaboration and coexistence with one another. The things that we tend to, like how many of us tend to such fickle, impermanent things, and how few of us tend to the things that really, really matter and that really, really have meaning. So the home. When the home is taken care of, all of relational life is taken care of. When the home is harmonious, all of life is harmonious. It is the hub, it is the epicenter of our relational lives. It's where we learn all of our relational skills or lack thereof. And this is why the home has been destabilized, because it creates ripples of disorder and disharmony. In organic societies, labor was divided by sex. However, there was no ranking, there was only sinking. Everyone knew and honored their rightful role, and everyone recognized the necessity of both roles being fulfilled. So there was no hierarchy, there was synarchy. Both were equally as important and equally as valued roles. There was no designation of more important or less important. There was no distinction between superior and inferior. This designation of more important or less important, or superior and inferior, is man-made, is human-made. It's an illusion. This difference, this distance, this separation has been conferred upon us, again, to destabilize, to disable, to take us away from our core essence, our quintessence, to take us away from the 0 point where we can live in peace and prosperity. While we're on this thread and theme of women being economists, the original economists, I'd love to discuss the thread about women being more equipped towards financial prowess. So a more traditional home acknowledges and values the unique financial prowess of women, which is rooted in our heightened emotional intelligence and the influence of oxytocin as our reward system, a hormone which is associated with bonding and love. So emotional intelligence, or EI, is a measure of one's emotional fluency and literacy. It refers to the ability to identify, understand, and manage our own emotions, and therefore those of others, to co-regulate with them at that point. Women, on average, tend to exhibit higher emotional intelligence than men. I don't think this is a secret to anyone. And this likely has to do with the fact that our emotions have been a lot more, our relationship and our connection to our emotions have been a lot more cultivated as women, a lot less stifled in a lot of ways, in a world that promotes a lot of masculine emotional stoicism. So women on average tend to exhibit higher emotional intelligence than men. And so this includes a greater capacity for empathy, for self-awareness, and for consciously relating. So how this actually translates into financial prowess is very direct and very simple. Higher emotional intelligence means better decision-making skills. It allows women to approach financial decisions with a balanced perspective, with coherence in their system, taking into account not just quantitative data, but also considering qualitative factors and data, like the impact of the financial decisions on family life and the collective community and the overall well being of the living world, and things like operations costs, for example, of the thing that you may be investing in. So, a good example of this is actually, I'll tell it to you at the end of this little tangent and segment. Um, so another factor that sets women apart in financial management is oxytocin. So oxytocin is actually released in higher quantities in women than men. And it's linked to nurturing, trust building, social bonding, community ties, and all that good stuff. So it's a very connective hormone. So the feminine reward system is oxytocin based, while the masculine reward system is dopamine based. Oxytocin influences financial choices and decisions. Unlike dopamine, which drives reward seeking behaviors and can lead to riskier financial choices in the pursuit of these big wins and these big highs, and which can lead to the circulation of money in a way that only benefits the self for a short term period. Oxytocin promotes care and it promotes collaboration, which leads to intimate, embodied, empowered, slow, reverent, respectful, reciprocal, and responsible financial choices and decisions. So it prompts women to consider the long-term faithfulness and fruitfulness of their financial choices and decisions rather than being seduced by the immediate thrill of high risk, high reward scenarios. So this does not imply that women are risk averse. Rather, they tend to be more risk aware, and they are likely to take more calculated risks backed by thorough and thoughtful consideration and contemplation. Men, due to their dopamine reward systems, are more likely to be driven by their appetitive desires and wills, whereas women, due to their oxytocin reward systems, are more likely to be driven by rational or pure desires and wills. This is also why men can have a very zoomed in, narrow-sighted lens when it comes to finances, and why women can have a very zoomed out lens when it comes to finances. And neither is inherently good or bad or better or worse. They are both necessary and they both have their purpose and they both have their role and they both have their function. And this is also another reason why men bode better in the financial economy and women bode better in the home economy. Because again, men have this dopamine reward system that allows them to be more competitive and more cutthroat, if you will, and more forward moving and more outward, and all of these, more consistent, all of these things that are required of us in a financial economy, right? Where we've seen a lot of women become very masculinized to be and exist in the corporate realm because that is what is required of them to not only survive there, but to thrive there. Because it's actually very catering to male physiology, male anatomy, male spirituality, male emotionality, male hormone profiles, and male reward systems. This is why. This is why. Like when we hear the saying like men are from Mars and women are from Venus, this is like genuinely so very real. And the more we all allow ourselves to be what we are, the better off the world will be. Like the more women start behaving and acting like women, and the more that men start acting and behaving like men, the better off the world will be. Like if everyone really just sits in their rightful pull and throne and roll, all will be well in the world. Like all the disease, all the disharmony, all the discord, all the disorder, all of that will surely dissolve. Like I really, truly, deeply know that to be true in my heart. And I continue to experience that through and in my life, the more that I allow myself to exist in that rightful pull and throne and roll. So a little story here. So for example, Rob is doing very well professionally right now, which means he's doing very well financially, which means we're doing very well financially. He always corrects me on that. We are doing very well financially. And he's really excited. Like his dopamine levels are fucking high, you know? And so he's like, it's that hedonic treadmill situation happening where he desires to celebrate through a big win, right? He's like, we're gonna get a sauna. It's gonna be awesome. I'm so stoked, kind of thing. And he like was so set on getting the sauna. And I had to bring him back down to earth with love, with intention, with compassion, and with care, knowing that like his inner child is so lit up by this idea and is so excited. And I never want to throw like water on his fire, you know? Like I only ever want to fan his flame. However, again, like I'm a woman. I have a more zoomed out lens. Um, and I recognize that, you know, it's not just going to cost $3,000 to get the sauna. It's going to cost an extra $500 a month of electricity for us to warm this sauna up, and so on and so, right? So I start seeing these additional costs that will be incurred that will take away from the pot that is going to go towards us investing in property and building a home for us and our family, right? So again, it's like I have this zoomed out lens. I see this bigger vision, and you know, I just simply bring it to his awareness and I bring it to his attention. Again, there's no judgment, there's no shame that I'm throwing at him, no shade that I'm throwing at him. It's just simply like bringing it to his awareness. And of course, in that moment, like he fully recognizes, like, yeah, of course, like that's our priority. And then someday eventually like we will have the sauna and it will all be there for us, like all these desires that we have, like it will all be so deeply available without us having to compromise any of our visions for it, you know. So this is the energy that the home economist brings, is um this affinity for the future, because you're so deeply rooted and planted, and therefore you can zoom out from a really, really tethered place, if that makes sense. I'm just going to take a sip of water. Literally me and my husband, says Devin. Thank you for this. Of course, love. So glad it's landing. So all this to say also that far from outdated stereotypes of women being poor handlers of money, everything that I just shared actually really illuminates the financial prowess of women, making them not just equal, but often superior financial managers to men. I believe that the epidemic of unintegrated maidens running rampant is what causes this stereotype to be expressed and embodied of women being poor handlers of money. Because yeah, we have a lot of unintegrated maidens just running around in their like self-centered energy and buying self-security, you know, through bags and shoes and trips even and things like that. So yeah, just felt the call to highlight that piece. So for many, I know for myself, the Bible serves as a significant source of wisdom and instruction. And it offers a profound perspective on womanhood and emphasizes a woman's organic nature and pull and role and function and design and destiny. And I feel that there is so much to learn from religious teachings and that we shouldn't reject them just because we've been told to in a lot of ways in the spiritual community, but rather use them as a way to refine our discernment and our core truths and our core values. And just like everything, I believe that religion is not inherently wrong and bad and evil. And it's the people who possess power, who have historically possessed power, who misuse and abuse and distort the teachings, who make it wrong, bad, and evil in its influence and its impact on society and the collective web of life. I speak from a place of having demonized religion because I hadn't. Thank you so much. I was getting so hot. It's really wonderful. Bless you. Rob just opened the door. Yeah, this is coming from a person who used to demonize religion because I hadn't fully integrated my own religious trauma, which created the fragmentation for me. And now that it is integrated, I can explore the Bible, for example, from a really receptive, surrendered, zoomed out, and faithful pair of eyes. And I can see the timeless truth and the impeccability that actually exists in the teachings beyond the interpretations that so many of us have been conditioned to have of the Bible and the teachings within the Bible and those types of things. So just really being able to see with clear eyes and a clear heart what's there for me, what's there for all of us, whether I'm actually a practicing Christian, if you will, you know? And this goes like this, for example, I know with Arij, with many of you in the space know Arij. I know with Arij, for example, like her point of inquiry would be teachings that come from Islamic faith, right? Because that's her site of pain and trauma within a religious context. So that's why like I feel this pull to go through the Bible through this with this pair of eyes, because that was my site of separation to God, if you will, through my upbringing. So we have been really conditioned to separate religion and spirituality, which is silly, to be honest, because they aren't separate and they both provide a framework for each other. So spirituality, I would say, is an individualized and individuated experience of faith, and religion is a shared and communal and co-creative and collaborative experience of faith. So both are a way to connect with God, and to raise the overall consciousness of the collective web of life. So that was a mini side tangent piece there, just because I mentioned the Bible. So while the Bible does not explicitly address the topic of women having careers in the modern sense and in the financial economic sense, it provides really important insights on the central role of women in the home, and additionally, extensively from that, in raising children and starting families, if you will. The primary focus, though, is on fostering a harmonious, peaceful, and prosperous home life. So in the book of Proverbs, a woman of a noble character from Proverbs 31 stands as a timeless example. So while she is industrious and contributes to her family's economic well-being, like financially economic well-being, her activities are based in and around the home primarily. So she is quite literally the manager of the home. Like, she rises before everyone else, most likely. She goes to sleep after everyone else, most likely. Like, she is making sure that everything is functional within the home, and not just in a physical way, but energetically, spiritually, emotionally, all a holistic functionality, the biblical woman was also a financially economic asset to her husband, because she was known to invest in real estate and to be that pair of eyes for him. So in so many ways, a woman is designed to be that companion and that assistant in so many ways for a man to realize his full vision. And so again, there is no ranking here. There is no ranking. There's only sinking. Like, he is not able to fulfill his full vision and God's full mission for him without you, and you without him. So again, there is absolutely no ranking. Oh, his role is better and bigger than mine. No, it's pure sinking. You need one another. So the biblical woman is managing the home. She's managing all of the things, essentially. And her efforts are not about personal ambition or independence even. More than anything, her efforts are about contributing to her family's prosperity and well-being, knowing that that is an extension of her own. So it's not separate from her own prosperity and well-being. So let's dive into yes, okay. I was having like a thinking out loud situation, and then I brought it back in and completed the thought inwardly. So the home serves as the foundation of society. And the roles of homemaking, home keeping, and home tending are essential in fostering a harmonious society. So now we'll explore the distinctions between these roles and the virtues, value, symbolism, and significance of these roles. And we'll highlight how they contribute to creating a nurturing environment that can ultimately lead to a harmonic society. So the words homemaking, home keeping, and home tending might seem and sound synonymous. However, they embody distinct nuances, and each bears a unique signature and significance and symbolism in the sphere of the home. So I'd love to know in the chat what you intuitively feel is the difference between homemaking, homekeeping, and home tending. You can also share through your voice if you'd like.
I was typing, but I figured I'd just say it.
Go for it.
Homemaking, and I could be completely wrong, but like homemaking, because I've never heard of home keeping and home tending in this context, I guess, but like homemaking, I'm thinking of just like, I'm literally thinking of making things. Like, making stuff like the other day with like cleaning supplies, making food, making clothing, making fabric, repairing things. Home keeping, it kind of makes me almost feel like more of like a guardianship kind of feeling, like actually guarding the home, keeping it safe, keeping it like protected. And then what was the other one? Home tending. That just makes me think more of like a maintenance, gardening, stuff like that. Keeping like the yard nice, the outside of the house nice. Yeah, just like tending to the things that you spent homemaking.
I love how you put that. You're not very far off. You're really not far off. I love it. I love it. The guardianship piece, I really, really love that. That's such a word that comes through when I think of home. It's like a safe guardian.
I was gonna say, so homemaking for me is like it's what you create, like the atmosphere of your home, the atmosphere of your own, even your own energy, the way that you present yourself in your home, or even like when someone walks into your home, how you make them feel. So like what senses and how people are connecting with the environment, how you're connecting with your environment, and even your internal home, and how that reflects in the space around you. So that's, for me, that's like what homemaking is. And then home, what was the other one? There's home tending and home
Keeping.
yeah, so home keeping is, I guess, like for me, is kind of like the cleanliness of the space, and like what you keep inside the home, what you keep inside yourself too. And like I feel like the home is a reflection of the internal system as well. So I feel like how you are internally is going to be a reflection of the home. So that's like when I think of keeping, is like, how clean is the space? How clean is your internal space? What are you keeping in range? Like, what are you keeping close to you? And what do you like? Why is this here, kind of question? And then the tending is the maintenance of everything, and like taking the responsibility for the space, taking responsibility for your internal space. And but yeah, just like maintaining and purging and cleaning out, and constantly like, not like cleaning, but like, I guess like those two kind of could be very similar too, as tending and keeping. They feel almost super intertwined. Homemaking can be intertwined with those, but it really stands out on its own. Whereas like the tending and the keeping feel very similar in energy, in my personal opinion.
I feel that. I've really sat with this. I'm loving all the information y'all are bringing through. That's just coming through. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. It took a lot of sitting in it where I was like, there is a difference. But like, what is the difference? And then so I'm excited to share like the clarity that dropped in for me to see how it lands for y'all. Yes, I love how you worded that as well, Devin. I love how you worded your share as well, Tessa. Really beautiful shares, y'all. Thank you so much. Um, yes, yes, yes. All the love. All of the love. So to me, Homemaking is the act of turning a house, so a mere structure of bricks and mortar, into a home. So a cozy, welcoming, soulful, faithful space and place. So at first glance, the terms house and home appear interchangeable to a lot of people. However, for me, upon deeper contemplation of the two words, they really encompass different dimensions of human life. So a house represents this physical structure, whereas a home signifies an emotional state, a feeling, a sentiment, an experience, an expression, an embodiment that transcends the mere boundaries of walls and of what is even tangible and visible. So a house is a tangible entity, a concrete structure with a definitive form, and it consists of rooms and doors and windows and walls, which are all carefully assembled to provide this physical shelter. However, a home is so much more than that. A home isn't this limited physical space, it's an emotional habitat, it's an emotional landscape, it's an emotional ecology. It's where love resides, where memories are created, and where laughter echoes. It's a sacred space. Tessa got kicked out. I'm back. So it's a sacred space that bears witness to your contractions and expansions, your failures and your successes, your deaths and your rebirths. So again, a home transcends the four walls. It is a state of being. It is a profound sense of belonging. And this involves a lot more than decorating walls and filling rooms with furniture. It's about cultivating relationships and informing and shaping traditions and fostering a sense of community, rootedness, foundation. While a house and a home may coexist, they are inherently different. So a house is this physical edifice, a container that holds a home. And the home is a rich tapestry of emotions, experiences, and connections residing not only within four walls, but within the hearts of all of its inhabitants. So home is a testament to the human capacity for love, connection, belonging, coexistence, collaboration, demonstrating that our homes truly lie where our hearts find their most profound echoes. Yes, yes, home is where the heart is just took a whole deeper meaning. Exactly. So homemaking is about creating an environment that mirrors the personality, the culture, the traditions, and the values of all of its inhabitants. I'd love to know what home smells like to you. To me, the smell of home is freshly cooked food and fresh flowers. Our olfactory system is one of the oldest sensory modalities in the history and herstory of mammals. So smell is the backdrop or context for a person, a place, an emotional state, for entire deposits of memories. So when those are important and salient or impressionable events, the smell is strongly associated with the memory, to the extent that re-experiencing the smell often revives the emotions or the feelings that were initially experienced. So that's often why, like, if you smell a certain smell, it can be really, really nostalgic, and it can take you back to like your nonna's kitchen when you were 2 years old. And like, it can be this really, really defined memory, vivid memory that comes through. And it's because of the smell that is connected to that. It's spoken like a true Taurus moon. I love that. Pine trees and wood stove fires. I love that so much. We cooked so much on that wood stove and warmed our whole house for years. Me as well, actually, with my grandma. Always. Like, we were always, always cooking on a wood stove. It has such a distinct smell, like always, for sure. For sure, for sure. I love that. Mm. I love smelling like a fire. Me too. I never want to shower after a fire. Burning wood fires, pepper pot beef in a pressure cooker, jasmine from my mom's garden. I love that. That's so beautiful, Tessa. Thank you for sharing. So another piece with homemaking is definitely hand making. I know that was mentioned. Hand making is a really, really big piece here. This can involve so many things like bread making, candle making, sewing, knitting, crocheting, pickling, painting, writing, tincture making, gardening, musical instruments, homesteading, like making your own cheese, making your own ice cream. The world is your oyster. The list is never ending. There are so many things that you can make with your hands as a woman. And this is a big part of what makes a home is the heart that is presenced into the things that are being made, and the heart that is felt when you eat the thing that was made, or when you light that candle that was made with your by your wife's hands or your mother's hands, you know, like it hits different. Something hits different when it's made by two hands that you know, something hits different when it's made with your own two hands. Like there's just something about it that feels so much more wholesome and holistic and full and filling as a result. And even for me, like, my mom was a modern woman in every sense of the word. However, there was never an absence of homemade things in my life and in my childhood. Like, my mom made home cooked food all the time, all the time. And if she couldn't, because she was away on trips, she would pay like Balkan grandmas money to cook us like Balkan quality homemade food that my mom approved of, kind of thing. So yeah, hand making is, I know for me, it's something that was ever present with the women in my life, like with my grandmothers and with my mother as well. Um, just a lot of working with her own hands, a lot of creating with her own hands, a passion for it, like truly such a passion for it. Such an eager student to learn how to make new things. Like, throughout my life, I've watched my mom learn how to make sourdough by herself, and learn how to pickle by herself, and learn how to make sauerkraut by herself, and learn how to do all these things that traditionally in organic societies, like, that would have been very passed down to us by the matriarch. But that whole tradition and culture has been lost as well, and it is being restored now. But there was a lot of things that I definitely got to witness my mom in, that were very home making and hand making. They were of that essence. And another piece that Devin mentioned as well is it's this piece of like the atmosphere, you know, like what does it feel like when someone enters your home? You know, like, does it feel like a warm, cozy hug, or does it feel like you walked into a thorny rose bush? Because there is a difference, and you know what it's like when you walk into either or person's home. Like, you really do. And one of them feels really good, and one of them does not feel good at all, and you leave that person's house feeling like you need to go like baptize yourself and bathe yourself in holy water so that you can be cleansed of the energy that you just were surrounded by, you know what I mean? So that's like a really, really big piece of homemaking is what does your home feel like? What does it really, really feel like? What is it experienced as a result? And so many things make that up, you know? Like, I know for me, there was little things that I definitely picked up from my mom that I would say that for me, I really consider cozy and homey, and that I personally have implemented and incorporated and woven into my home economics, you know? Things like candles. Like, I love candles. I love having candles lit. I love the ambiance. I love the warmth. I love the element of fire being present. I love the light. I just love it. And my mom used to do that a lot. My mom still does that a lot. Little things like I always have a bowl of nuts on the coffee table. And my mom always, like, she just taught me this just by existing the way that she does. And that was something that I always loved. Like, I always loved that if I sat down on the couch, there was always a snack in front of me if I wanted a little snack, and like how cozy that felt to me and how homey that felt to me. And like make yourself right at home kind of feeling of like, I don't have to like go ask for this like snack now, like it's just here. Like, just little things like that or little things like having slippers for your guests, because like I know as a woman, like I love wearing slippers. Like, my feet are cold frequently. I know that a warm womb is a healthy and wealthy womb, and I like having slippers. So like, knowing that this about myself, like I have slippers that I give to guests that they can wear when they come to my house. And like, people have commented on that being like, oh my god, I was literally going to bring my own slippers because I love having slippers, and then you gave me slippers, and oh my god, this is so perfect, thank you. Like, just little stuff like that is so simple yet has such a profound effect on how someone experiences you and your home. And the final piece within homemaking is this concept of keeping hearth, or making hearth, actually. So hearth, it's also pronounced hearth, so tomato, tomato, whatever you want to pronounce it as. Hearth means fireplace. And in organic and traditional societies, it was where families and societies altogether would gather and commune and connect. Metaphorically speaking, in the modern day world, what is the hearth? The hearth is warmth, right? The hearth is being that comfort, that refuge, that solace, and that sanctuary on the coldest and darkest nights for your entire family. So being that soft feminine that God intended you to be. A hearth is a place for serenity. It's a source of identity. It's a reminder of who we are and where we come from. It's a tether to something sure. It's this fixed center that we can return to. Yet it's equally as portable and mobile. Because again, it transcends the physical house. So homemaking is about making this hearth. It's about making this either metaphorical or literal fireplace. This warm place where everyone can come be and take up space and belong. and know that they are so beloved. And there's nothing that they have to do in order to be beloved, or be in order to be beloved. So homemaking is in many ways laying down the foundation of a home. And then homekeeping is actually the task of maintaining it. So it involves things like cleaning, organizing, laundry, gardening, garbage removal, you name it. Like all of the tedious tasks that you can possibly think about, all of the mundane tasks that you can possibly think about, that is what homekeeping is. And it all ensures that the home runs smoothly and efficiently. So in a lot of ways, homekeeping is about preserving the aesthetics and the hygiene and the functionality of a home, ensuring that it remains comfortable, physically speaking, and pleasing, physically speaking, for everyone that's living within the home. So the tasks involved in homekeeping are usually repetitive and ongoing. And these duties, though often deemed mundane or trivial, are instrumental in upholding the integrity and livability of a home. So there's a lot of home care involved in this. So physical cleanliness and maintenance, vacuuming, mopping floors, cleaning dust, cleaning windows, cleaning out the fridge, cleaning the toilets, like all of that kind of stuff, like more of like the icky stuff falls under the category of this like physical maintenance. Homekeeping has to all of the things, exactly. Homekeeping has to do with decluttering as well. So like living a life and creating and cultivating a home culture that is minimalistic. So not hoarding, not cluttering, not having shit everywhere all the time. Like really making sure that your home is filled with stuff that has high utility and high use and high value to you. I don't mean monetary value. I mean like if you're not using it at least once a week, why do you have it? Like getting really, really clear on what is valuable to you and your home life, rather than operating from a place of manufactured value of what you've been taught is valuable to you in your home life. Because is it actually? Within homekeeping as well, I would highlight that education and knowledge is a pillar here. Because in order to show up in your full role as a home economist, you have to be in the know of all of the things, nutritional things, education related things, gentle parenting related things. Like, you know what I'm trying to say. There's just an endless amount of information out there and things to learn and things to know in order for you to fulfill your full roles and duties as a home economist, let's say. And so staying up to date is a good way to put it. That's a part of your role as a homekeeper, is staying up to date. Learning about ancestral nutrition, learning about herbal medicine, learning about traditional ways to preserve your food, like canning and pickling and those types of things. Learning about foraging, learning about your local environment, learning about your local ecosystem, gathering, cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping, meal planning, meal prepping. This all has to do with homekeeping. Cooking definitely has to do with homemaking as well, like for sure. That one's intersectional. Because cooking to me, that's home. That is home in a nutshell. But it definitely has to do with homekeeping as well, because it is a very effortful task and duty to cook and then to clean as well. So that's homekeeping. And then home tending involves a caring for the inhabitants of a home. So it's about attending to the needs of family members and it ooh. So it goes beyond the physicality of a space. It's about the people within it and their emotional ecology and the emotional ecology of the home as a result. So as a home tender, a woman can wear many hats. It can be caregiver, nurturer, mediator, confidant, counselor. So it's through these roles that a home tender fosters a loving environment and emotional ecology in the home. So for me, when I feel into home tending, this is like home tending is tending to the flame of the hearth. So tending to the fire of the hearth. So feeding the fire, stoking the fire, resourcing the fire so that it never burns out, so that it continues to burn bright for everyone within the home, lighting the way and lighting the path. And for everyone to be warmed and comforted by and beside and with. So homemaking is making the hearth so that it exists. And then home tending is ensuring that the flame that is the hearth never burns out. So tending to the flame. Within home tending, a big role that women take on is faith cultivation. So really being this anchor and pillar and resource of faith within the home culture. You know, being the person who does make time and space for the word of God every day, and who does take time and space to pray on behalf of her family, on behalf of her home, over her family, over her home. You know, being the one who restores faith in the home, teaching children about truth and about love and about what separates them and us from the warmth of God's love and from our inheritance, provision, and fortune in God as well. So tending to the home means watering the home with our faith and being cultivators of faith, devoted cultivators of faith. Within home tending as well, there's a lot of community care and community service. So a lot of bringing and bridging people together, making plans, reaching out, hydrating bonds, building connections, weaving webs and networks. So not only tending to your home life and your family life, but tending to your community life and your communal life and your collective life. So ensuring that you are pouring into your community. Tending to what really, really has meaning in this life, which is rich relationship. Home tending is not just tending to the sense of belonging within the home, but tending to the sense of belonging within the greater web of life. So that your children, for example, know that they belong to an even greater web outside of their family system, creating an even deeper sense of belonging in and to this world. As a tender, we take on the role of teacher. So we teach those in our home how to relate more consciously, how to process emotion more consciously, how to meet doubt more consciously, how to meet fear more consciously. In the tending, we come back to the earth and the heart and the hearth. We come back to the home. So this piece dropped in for me just a few weeks ago of our husband would rather a pleasant wife than a perfect home. That is, he would rather you not force yourself to keep the home in perfect order at all times if it compromises your feminine softness, tenderness, receptivity, and ease. So, in our society, which often equates worth and value with productivity, many women feel this immense pressure to maintain an immaculate, magazine-worthy home. However, something that I continuously have to remind myself of is that the heart of a home does not lie in its perfect orderliness, but in the love that resides within its walls. So our families desire a mother, a wife, whatever it is, who is softened and who is smooth and silky and slow and surrendered. Because this serenity, this is the quality that transforms a house into a home. So our feminine softness holds the power to create this soft environment, this soft landing, this soft place to land. So being at peace within yourself first and foremost. And this is not to say that these tasks that we just talked about are insignificant. They are important. They are very important. However, these tasks should not be pursued at the expense of our emotional well-being, at the expense of our peace. A perfectly arranged house can offer this visual appeal and this sense of order, but fundamentally it's the laughter that echoes in its halls and the love that is shared within its walls and the peace that pervades its rooms that make a home. And an environment that fosters these attributes often stems from a loving wife who prioritizes taking care of herself and tending to her own spirit, knowing that that will enable her to tend to others with more fullness and with more wholeness and with more integrity. You creating an optically clean space will not create that felt sense and experience of a peaceful home if you cleaned it from an internally dysregulated place. If you cleaned it from a place of force and extraction and exploitation, of overriding your organic capacity. If you did it from a place of huffing and puffing and mumbling and groaning and moaning under your breath, resenting that you're cleaning, if that's the energy from which you cleaned, the optical illusion of a clean space is not going to make a difference because you're going to be a really unpleasant person fundamentally, which completely changes the energetic signature of the space. So peace and therefore prosperity does not abide in an immaculate home, but in a harmonious heart. In a world fascinated by the glossy exteriors of perfection, we often mistakenly equate an immaculate home with peace and prosperity. However, true peace and consequently prosperity reside not in the physical perfection of a home, but in the harmony of the heart. An immaculate home, while visually appealing and seemingly ideal, does not guarantee a peaceful or prosperous existence. At the end of the day, as humans, we are complex, physical, emotional, energetic, and spiritual beings, and our state of well-being extends well beyond our immediate physical surroundings. So a flawless, picture-perfect house might serve as a nice backdrop, but it cannot and will not ensure peace or prosperity if the hearts dwelling within are in discord. A harmonious heart, on the other hand, is a beacon of peace. It signifies an inner state of unity and coherence, an evergreen faith through all of life's seasons, and a profound sense of gratitude for all of life's unfolding. And from peace springs prosperity. The prosperity born of a harmonious heart is not merely financial. It's a wealth of love, connection, belonging, community. It's a prosperity of spirit, a wealth of shared experiences, and a richness of deep, meaningful relationships. So this form of prosperity thrives not in the immaculate orderliness of a home, but in the warmth and love that permeates every nook and cranny in the home. And when we are at peace with ourselves, we create an environment that nurtures creativity, that nurtures productivity, that nurtures growth and maturation. And these are all essential elements for material prosperity, for material wealth. This state of inner harmony allows us to make thoughtful choices and decisions, to build strong relationships, and ultimately to contribute positively to our surroundings and to our environment, laying this solid foundation for financial and personal success within the home, for everyone within the home. So cleanliness starts in the heart first and foremost. Cleanliness in the heart is a prerequisite for cleanliness in the home on every level: physical, nutritional, energetic, emotional, spiritual. Often when we think of cleanliness, we envision sparkling floors and dust-free surfaces and spotless windows. And while maintaining a clean physical environment is important, true cleanliness extends far beyond the visible realm and the physical realm. It starts from within and from the heart. Cleanliness in the heart is the cornerstone of holistic cleanliness, paving the way for a home that's not only physically clean, but also nutritionally, energetically, emotionally, and spiritually pure. Cleanliness of the heart signifies a state of inner purity. This inner cleanliness, often nurtured through practices like mindfulness, meditation, and prayer, is a prerequisite for creating a truly clean home. So you emptying through mindfulness, meditation, and prayer so that you can be filled is a prerequisite for a clean home. You spiritually cleaning and clearing yourself and bathing yourself is necessary for creating a truly clean home, because it sets the tone for all actions and interactions, influencing every aspect of your relational life. So physical cleanliness is often the most noticeable aspect of cleanliness, and it becomes a natural extension of a clean heart. So a heart that values inner purity will invariably seek a clean, orderly physical environment, because a clean heart instinctively understands that a clutter-free, clean living space contributes to peace of heart and overall well-being. A clean heart also appreciates the importance of nutritional cleanliness. So it recognizes that the food that we eat can cause disease or promote and support our innate template of health, wellness, wealth, and well-being. So as such, a clean heart chooses to nourish the body with clean, wholesome, nutrient-dense foods prepared with prayer, presence, love, and care. A heart steeped in cleanliness radiates positive energy, thereby enhancing the energetic cleanliness of the home. A clean and integrated heart fosters an alchemical environment for untethered emotions and energies to be contained and processed in adaptive ways, so that the home doesn't become spiritually or energetically contaminated or compromised, if you will, by this untethered energy. Emotionally, cleanliness means fostering an environment of understanding, of empathy, of compassion, of open communication. So being that soft feminine that I mentioned, being that receptive feminine, being that comforting, nurturing feminine. Spiritually, it involves nurturing a deep sense of connection to yourself, to others, and to God. So cleanliness, like most things, is this multi-dimensional, holistic concept that begins within the heart. A clean heart with its purity and innocence and integrity and love is the cornerstone of a truly clean home. One that shines not only with physical cleanliness, but also with nutritional, energetic, emotional, and spiritual purity and cleanliness. All to say that maintaining a physically clean home is a worthwhile endeavor. It is the harmony of the heart that truly ushers in peace and prosperity. The exterior perfection of an immaculate home may please the eyes, but it is the internal symmetry of a harmonious heart that soothes the soul and nurtures love and cultivates true prosperity. So from here on in, let this be your invitation to not strive towards a flawless home, but more importantly, to restore your harmonious heart, for therein lies the essence of a peaceful, prosperous home life for you and your family. The last big thread that I'd love to bring to this conversation are the twin pillars of service and devotion, which are represented by the sisters Martha and Mary, as told in the book of Luke. I'm going to take a sip of water before I flow on this. Okay. So, Martha being practicality and head, and Martha carrying the fruits of action, and Mary being spirituality and heart, carrying the fruits of spirit. Culturally, Martha has been celebrated and glorified because she is a doer and an achiever, while Mary has been disabled, devalued, and dishonored because she is a beer and believer. So, as a woman called to express and embody organic femininity, I find myself reflecting on these two twin pillars of service and devotion represented by the sisters Martha and Mary. Martha represents the practical aspects of home economics. So the homekeeping, when it comes down to it. So the dutiful diligence required to maintain an orderly and hospitable home. So she busies herself with cooking and cleaning, and her hands are ceaselessly working. And it really all is a symbol of action and the physical manifestation of love. However, we live in a world where, as I mentioned, Martha is very glorified. And so Martha is overexpressed, like hyper expressed. And there's a very big imbalance in the individual and collective expression and embodiment with regards to Martha and Mary. we have way too much Martha energy going on, and it's creating a lot of disease and disorder and disharmony and discord fundamentally. Mary, on the other hand, as I mentioned, represents the heart and spirituality. And she fundamentally chooses to sit in ceremony, in the ceremony of life, absorbing the teachings and wisdom that God is bestowing upon us every single day. Really deeply devoted to spiritual hydration, fundamentally, not just for herself, but for the entire home and family. So, from an outside perspective, Martha is very active and Mary is very passive. And so Martha is very celebrated for that activity, right? And Mary is very disabled for that inactivity or that passivity. And that's why her expression and embodiment is way less encouraged, because Martha's expression and embodiment is being encouraged in a world of merit where we always have to quantify and measure and label worth and value. And because homekeeping is much more tangible of the home makings, home keepings, and home tendings, a lot of women get sucked up in the vortex of homekeeping, and they forget about finding balance and harmony with all the different types that we mentioned. So the homekeeping, the home tending, and the homemaking. And Rob has really, really been such a constant reflection of when my Martha is being a crazy bitch and trying to run the show, you know, like he's been such a powerful reflection for when more of Mary needs to be restored, and where there's more room for Mary in my life. And just really reflecting back at me his preference for a wife that is at ease over a house that looks really clean, you know, a home that looks really clean. Being a Martha is fundamentally a skill that can be learned and practiced and mastered, because it, in so many ways, being a Martha is a lot more linear. However, being a Mary, you know, being more receptive to life and therefore in flow with life and being more spiritually attuned is fundamentally a journey of the heart, and it's a cultivation of the spirit that requires a lot more than just, like, you know, reading a book or taking a course, for example. Like this is the type of stuff that can't really be taught in a book. It's this intentional process of communing with God every day and allowing God's love, agape, to mold us like we're clay from the inside out. It's about creating a home not just through the labor of our hands, but through the love in our hearts. So, a big distortion and reversal and inversion in our field as home economics, economists, as home economists, is that the value comes from the labor of our hands. And while it does, the biggest and greatest value comes through the love in our hearts. Like, think about when I remember in my childhood when my mom made some batches of cookies, for example, that were just like not the most tasteful, you know? However, I wasn't thinking about, oh, these aren't tasty cookies, I'm not going to eat them. I was thinking about how much love my mom poured into those cookies. And that's what I was allowing myself to taste and sense and experience was her love. And it would literally change the taste of the cookies for me and would allow for them to be more enjoyable to me. Um, and that piece just felt the call to come through there in that moment. So thank you for receiving that. But yeah, there's this is this part of the conversation is really an invitation to contemplate how Martha and Mary play out in your life, in your home life, and whether there's a harmony between the two of them or if one of them is running the show more um, than the other, and how you can create reconciliation and restoration and harmonization and mergence in those two expressions and embodiments, so that you're not operating from a place of separation, but rather from a place of unity and coherence of the two. So it's not like an either or situation, like Martha's not better than Mary and Mary's not better than Martha, and all of those things. It's they are who they are and what they are and who they be, and they both have a vital role and function to play, and it is completely necessary for there to be a harmony in those roles and functions playing out, just like with men and women. Same thing here with these internal archetypes at play, if you will. Mm, there was this piece that was just dropping in that's evading me right now. It will come back if it was meant to. Mm. Hmm. Yeah, so there's this piece of like respective roles. It's like how I was talking about organic societies at the beginning of this transmission, where like men and women, there was no ranking, there was just syncing. Like this is the same thing with Martha and Mary. You can visualize that Mary is like the more, is that Martha is the more like masculine feminine, so more action oriented and more active service, whereas Mary is like the true and pure feminine, who is more, receptive. Um, yeah, Martha embodies this concept of active service. So like forward motion, it's very tangible, it's very noticeable, it's very, you can see it, you can taste it, you can feel it, you know what I mean? That's why she's associated with the head. It's the center of reason, it's the center of logic, it's the center of action. And as I mentioned, Martha's role is immensely valuable. Her actions are necessary and they are vital. She represents the fruits of action. So it's this there's this piece of tangibility, right? So these traits, this trait of tangibility is what's celebrated in the culture that we live in, right? Because it represents this tangible contribution to the world that we have made around us. So this is why Martha is more expressed and more embodied, because she is more celebrated. So the more that we make a cultural shift to celebrate Mary, which is the beer and the believer rather than the doer and the achiever, the more that she will organically and naturally start to express and embody herself. Because the more like literally safe she will feel to exist and take up space. So Mary embodies this deep connection to spirit, to God, to life, to creator, to all of creation, because she is willing to listen and she is willing to learn and she is willing to get low. She's very focused on being present with what is. So receiving life and then flowing with what she is receiving. So she values the intangible and the more ethereal aspects of life. However, these attributes are the ones that are undervalued in a society that places high emphasis on visible achievements, on materiality. So in most cultures, Mary's receptive nature is seen as passive and not valuable and useless and not significant and generally dismissed. Often, Mary will be called lazy. Yet, it's Mary that Jesus commends in the biblical account, highlighting the importance of her choice to seek spiritual hydration over worldly duties. And Mary's choice does not invalidate Martha's service, her active service, but rather points to the priority of spiritual hydration and inner peace. So both Martha and Mary are needed. Active service and more receptive service are both crucial aspects of life. As always, it's about finding a harmony in the two, knowing that you can merge the two and they can coexist in coherence and in collaboration with one another rather than in resistance and opposition with one another. So it's like, how can we reconcile the conflict and the tension between our inner Mary and our inner Martha and our outer Mary and our outer Martha? And that's an invitation for you. Like, that's something to be with. There's this piece that I desire to highlight here as well, is that if a home economist is feeling burnt out, it's a sign that there is disharmony between her inner Martha and her inner Mary, and her outer Martha and her outer Mary. It's a sign that Martha is running the show. It's a sign that you are at the mercy of Martha. It's a sign that you're imprisoned and enslaved by Martha. If you find yourself constantly overwhelmed by the need to maintain perfection in your home, like always doing, like never not doing, that is a sure sign that Martha is dominating your life. And trust me, I know we can always find an excuse of like, it's so easy for me to get this done. Like, I'll just get it done, like, trust me, I know. But then we just keep doing that with all the things. And it's just like, it's a never ending stream of doing. When Martha goes unchecked, she puts you in an unrelenting cycle of constantly doing, like chronically doing. And it's this sense as if you are stuck in a perpetual state of action with no time left, no space left for reflection or rejuvenation or restoration or regeneration. And this is especially when the spirit of Mary needs to be invoked and invited in and integrated, because she represents that contemplative sister. She represents the inner peace. She represents the spiritual hydration that comes from slowing down and softening and reflecting and connecting with God and receiving God's word. She teaches us the value of being still, of immersing ourselves in the present moment, and of establishing and nurturing our relationship with God. And knowing that that is like the real work. So when we neglect the Mary aspect of ourselves, that is when we risk burnout. That is when we experience burnout, because we can become so absorbed in our tasks and our responsibilities that we forget to nourish and hydrate our spiritual selves. We forget to drink from the well of peace and prosperity that God offers us. And this doesn't mean, like, finding more harmony with Mary and Martha doesn't mean abandoning the necessary tasks and responsibilities represented by Martha. It just involves creating a more harmonious relationship between the active service of Martha and the contemplative devotion and receptive service of Mary. So this can look like setting aside non-negotiable time and space for solitude and stillness, even if it's 5 minutes. It can look like choosing 2 non-negotiable tasks that will get done that day, and everything else is fully negotiable, and showing yourself grace and knowing, like, no one's gonna die if I don't finish this task. Like, nothing bad is actually going to happen. The only thing that's wrong is what I'm making this mean about me as a mother, as a wife, as a home economist, as a homekeeper, as a homemaker, as a home tender. So a really powerful reorientation to not burn out as a homekeeper, a home tender, and homemaker is to do less, aka have less to do on your to-do list, with more presence, with more immersion, and with more involvement. So rather than the orientation being, how much can I get done today? How can we reorient to how present, immersed in, and intimate with can I be with what I do get done today? So not being quantity led and driven, but rather quality led and driven. It's like, how can I do less with more presence? Another piece here is the motivation that Martha and Mary operate from. So the motivations of Martha and Mary are a reflection of 2 different types of drivers and motivations. So extrinsic and intrinsic. So Martha's motivation as a doer and as an achiever is largely extrinsic. Her tasks are generally responsive to the external environment. So like cooking, cleaning, organizing, maintaining a home, all the things we talked about. So the fruits of her labor are immediately observable and tangible. They are, to whatever degree, measurable. They create a certain external image, and they also meet others' expectations or societal standards of what a good home economist looks like, or how she should act, or what her home should look like, and all of those things. So again, the results are very measurable, they're very tangible. And so they're very associated with recognition, with approval and validation from others, celebration from others. There's a lot of affirmation that someone gets when they are being Martha. Oh, Martha, you do so much. Oh, Martha, you clean so much. Oh, Martha, 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 Martha. Lots of praise for Martha. On the other side, Mary's motivation is more intrinsic. So she's driven by internal values and by something bigger and beyond her, but indwelling. So bestowed upon her by God. So her actions, which are a lot more receptive and leaned back, may not result in visible or immediate outcomes in the physical world. However, they nourish the spirit, which does inherently nourish all of life, whether seen or felt. So Mary's rewards are not material or tangible, they are an internal reward. This sense of peace and prosperity that transcends all constructs of our minds. And so because of that, they may not be very acknowledged or even noticed by others. However, she's okay with that. Mary's okay with that because Mary knows that it's valuable to her. And Mary knows that it's valuable to God. And Mary knows that it's valuable for her family. And Mary knows that it's valuable for her husband. And Mary knows that it's valuable for her children. And Mary knows that it's valuable for her mother and her father, and so on and so forth. And that's all that matters to Mary. She doesn't give a fuck if anyone else thinks it's valuable because she knows that it's valuable. So another way to harmonize the expression and embodiment of Martha and Mary in your life is to restore the purity and integrity of your operating motivations and motivators. What's your why? Always ask, like, why? Why am I doing this right now? Why am I being this right now? Why am I choosing this right now? Why? For who? Who is it for? Like, who is it really for? And that will bring you a lot of clarity in terms of what drives your choices and your actions. And the more intrinsically motivated you are in this life overall, the more you really crystallize this attribute and aspect of Mary, the better off you will be. There was another thread that was coming through so strong and it honestly slipped away, and I really was welcoming it back in and it didn't come in. So I'm gonna complete it there. And if it does come back, I'll obviously message the group. But yeah, I'd love to invite your thoughts and your shares and your experiences and what resonated for you. If something didn't resonate for you, I'd love to hear it all. I trust that this brought some clarity to you and also supported you in naming certain phenomenons in your life or occurrences in your life, or just, yeah, just brought more clarity to you, whatever that looks like and feels like. And I trust that a lot more clarity will continue to drop into my field with regards to these themes and threads. Now that I've externalized like this batch, I sense another batch will come through. We're calling it a batch now of information. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you if you feel called to share. No pressure, as always.
I feel called to share.
Mm.
Just thinking about the whole, Martha and Mary archetypes. It's not something I'd ever really heard of or explored before, so it was really interesting.
Mm.
And I related a lot to it, a lot more than I thought, because I tend to have a Mary attitude towards things that I probably should have a Martha attitude to. And I have an attitude to things that I should have a Mary attitude towards. And I'm thinking about spiritual journey and how I have a Martha attitude to a spiritual journey where I feel like I have to keep doing and reading and I can't take a break and I have to keep meditating and I have to keep journaling and I have to keep doing affirmations, and it just starts so much where I'm actually at a point right now where I actually feel like I do need to take a break from thing, for however long it may be. But now I'm feeling like guilty for even thinking that I need to take a break. And I'm like, what would Mary do?
I love this so much. Oh my gosh, Tessa, that's such a powerful and relevant and prevalent example of, and this is a piece that like is incubating within me, that like I have a feeling like a big like Substack is going to come out of it or something. So be sure to, I'll be sure to let you know. But we live in this world like where the spiritual culture has become very homogenized, and most of what people are uh like the spiritual realm is mostly taking the spiritual path of ascension, which is the masculine path to spirituality. And so there's a lot of this doing happening, like a lot of, I have to do all of these things in order to realize my spirituality, in order to ascend this physical existence in this physical plane, right? Whereas the feminine path to spirituality is actually dissension, which is like a lot of like getting low and a lot less doing and a lot more being and like receiving, like just a lot of receiving, a lot of emptying, a lot of renouncing so that you can be filled, kind of thing. And this is this is something that I feel like most women awaken to at some point in their spiritual journey, where they're like, yo, so like you're telling me I have to do 8 hours of different practices and different whatevers in order for me to be like whole and in integrity? Like, what the fuck do you mean? This is a full-time job. Like, this is a full-time job. This is exhausting. It's it's not it's not giving me the promise that it's telling me is here for me, kind of thing, like it's just actually very I feel like eventually this truth hits a lot of women right in the face because you can't go around it. Like
Yeah.
eventually your spiritual journey, it's just like, no, this isn't the path you're supposed to be taking. You're not supposed to be doing 18,000 practices a day and like extracting from yourself and like exploiting what hurts and like pressing into what hurts. Like just let it happen. Like know that it's gonna happen. Like the things will come to your awareness when they're meant to be brought to your awareness. Um, but I can tell you what Mary would tell you to do. And Mary would tell you to literally minimize the amount of like doing that you're doing in terms of like the checklist that you have, like your spiritual checklist, because I know we've all been there. Um, eliminating the spiritual to-do list and just be in a beingness and see what happens there, because that, for me, that's what I've really stepped into in the last year and a half, of like I finally lifted the veil of illusions that convinced me that I have to rise every day and journal for an hour and then do a half an hour breathwork uh practice, and then do a half hour meditation, and then do a tapping sequence, and then do a yoga practice, and then do all of these things that in order for me to like restore my coherence in that moment, like when I stopped doing all of that and just like allowed myself to be guided by God, like just asking God every day, like, God, how can I be more connected to you today? Like, what does that look like today? And like a lot of the time, it's like very simple stuff, like just go sit and have a meal in stillness and silence, you know? Like really fucking simple stuff, but really fucking profound. Like a lot more profound than me going and forcing myself into that 30-minute meditation that I didn't really want to do, but that I convinced myself I have to do because if I don't, I'm deficient.
Yeah,
I mean,
man. Thank you for that. I feel a lot feel better, like just leaning more into that because I've been playing with that for the last couple of days. Like, is it okay for me to break? Is it okay to not spend 40 minutes meditating? Can I just do 10 and still feel
yeah,
fulfilled?
yes. And that's just it, is like, like if
I'm back if you hear like a banging.
it's all good. If these practices that we devoted ourselves to, that are designed to bring us peace in our lives, are not bringing us peace in our lives, but are bringing us guilt and shame, like, are we really being liberated through that practice, or are we just being further imprisoned and enslaved? You know what I mean? So it's like that's a really good way to actually gauge if something is restoring your innate wholeness and integrity, is you can step away from it and not feel this like codependent relationship with it, and not feel this guilt for abandoning the practice, if you will. Do you know what I mean? Because I know for me at this point, finally, I'm finally at the point where like none of it makes me feel guilty, even when it comes to prayer. Like generally, I really do my best to pray every single day, but even on the days where like I just simply don't get around to it or whatever, like I show myself grace. I'm not attached. I'm not like, because you didn't pray today, like this bad thing will befall you now. Like God's gonna punish you. Like, like it's none of that. It's just like I met God in other moments in life today. Like I communed with God in another way today. Like it's okay. I
Love that.
like just like letting it be okay, like not making it wrong and not making it mean something about you, and like your spiritual maturity and your spiritual ripeness, like I'm really curious to see how this exploration goes for you, because I just have a feeling it's gonna feel so good for you, Tessa, and you're gonna be like, holy fuck, why have I been doing this to myself for so long? Because that's how I felt. Like I was like, oh my God, it could have been this easy for this long. Like, whoa.
And like I've been putting a lot of pressure on myself for over a year now. So I want to try and like save myself before. I think we were talking about this, like this could lead to like spiritual psychosis kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Absolutely it can, because it's this like extraction piece where it's like it's not organically presenting itself. So it's like, now I'm going to go in and I'm going to do this like holotropic breath work, which is going to elicit this response, or rather reaction in my body, that now I'm going to have to like process. But I don't know if I'm actually fully ripe to process this, because it didn't organically come to the surface. Like I dug it out pretty much. And it's just like, why are we doing this? Like, is this really purposeful? Like, is this really leading to completion and closure for people? Like, I don't think so. Because all I see is a lot of people who have been like really deep in spirituality, but they're like not okay. Like, they're really, really not okay. I see a lot of people these days where I'm just like, I pray for your soul. You need to stop fucking astral projecting and all this shit that you're doing. Like, what is going on here? Something ain't right. Good old Mary and Martha. Hmm. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Tessa. Always so good to hear from you. Do you feel called to share, Devin? No pressure, always.
Um, I mean, I could say so much because this is literally the role I'm fulfilling right now in my own life, as like becoming the one that manages everything in the home. And in the beginning, like you were talking, like women are from Venus, men are from Mars kind of energy. And when I put that in astrological terms, I think of, what's the first? I think of Hermetic astrology, like in old astrology. And Mars is literally the planet of masculinity and assertiveness and action and taking action and sexual, animalistic energies and initiating energy, right? And warlike energy, violence. But then there's the Venus, and Venus is money, relationships, values, love. It's you know, the like it's like the art and the music, you know. And so when we think of like the signs, each of those planets in Hermetic astrology have a feminine and a masculine sign as well. So you think of Venus, which is Taurus, and it's Taurus, and in Hermetic astrology, who else rules Venus? It's Taurus,
Libra.
and Libra. Thank you. Spacing over there. And then Mars is Scorpio and Aries. So like
Yes.
Scorpio would take on that feminine essence of Mars,
Yes.
whereas Aries take on that masculine. There's like this duality in both of these planetary energies. So I just like love when you said men are from Mars, women are Venus, like because we can embody all of these characteristics within ourselves, right? But at the end of the day, like like my husband, like he manages the money, but sometimes I wonder if I manage the money, if we would be more fruitful with it, because my perception around money is more expansive. And that's when you were like, you know, when I was like, oh, that's me and my husband, it's like I have such a broad view of how money should be utilized and spent, and my husband holds so tightly to it and like it's like so controlling of it, and it's like that masculine attaching energy. And I'm like,
Yes.
okay, you know, how did you get in my room? I locked the door. This kid, he'll go get a knife and like open the lock and pick the lock with the knife. You want to say hi?
Yes. Hi, Emilio. Are you being an intelligent little boy? Figuring out little puzzles and stuff?
My ocean spaceship can.
Your orange
Wow.
spaceship?
Yeah.
What about it?
My bed.
It's in your bed?
Yeah.
He's so cute.
Okay.
I love how matter-of-factly kids are like, well, my bed, duh.
When's your birthday?
4.
You're gonna be 4?
Yeah.
It's in how many days?
Yeah, well, I got a buy choice today.
Emilio, it's Leo
Anyway.
season. It's Leo season.
When's your birthday? Can you tell me
Leo.
when is your birthday?
It's 4.
No, you're gonna be 4, but when is your birthday? What day is it?
It's
Whenever I start getting on the like, he does really well, but then when I start putting him on spot, he's like, yeah, I get it.
So fair. Like adults are like that, so it's so fair.
I'm like that totally.
You know, so am
I
I.
get stage fright.
Yeah, totally fair.
But so I just like laugh because technically, if women are from Venus or whatever, we should be managing the money. Like we should be managing all of the possessions and the things, and men are really, you know, like the ones that are the providers. Like they just bring it all in for us to manage the whole, you know. And I can see like how if we just embodied those roles a little differently, how maybe the stress would be alleviated off of his back, but he also has to be trusting of me.
That's it.
So it's just very interesting. I'm going to play with that in our relationship now. I'm going to bring it up. How do you feel about this? He's going to look at me like, well, I'm the one that brings it all in, so shouldn't I be the one in control?
Therefore,
like,
I should be the one, right? But then it's like, well, no, that's stressful enough. Why don't I alleviate this stress for you? And I take, you know what I mean? It's like, that's how we literally balance out the stress of it. Oh, that's nice. That's so nice.
So there was that, and then I kind of missed the ending of everything, but I wanted to also say there's something else that I was typing and it came through, and then I was like, I'll just talk about it at the end.
Is that bite?
Has escaped me. Yep, those are your underwear.
Oh,
Man, you had a thought and it went away, and like my thoughts
You
are
know,
all scrambled too.
sometimes it be
Oh,
like that.
I feel like this just like was really,
well,
it's
I
like,
just
it's so humbling for
that.
me to hear all of this and like apply it, because I right now, like there's like this hyperactive, oh, that's what I want to share. There's this like very hyperactivity in my life where I feel everything needs to be clean, because when my husband comes home, he feels stressed when the environment is too crazy. But then you started to mention the energetics of when I clean, like I normally start cleaning things or being anal about things based off of what I feel he's going to walk into the house with. And therefore he still ends up mostly stressed, because the energy behind that cleaning is literally me stressing about how he's going to feel, and not necessarily
Exactly.
like what I'm trying to do in the moment. Or like my mom does the same thing, where she's like, in the morning, she's like, I can't do this, this, and this if this isn't done. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, sometimes I like to leave the dishes at night. If I
Yeah.
don't get to it because I'm tired, I choose not to do them. Like, so I choose not to do them. I
Yeah.
try not to. But even it does feel better the next morning if they're not there. Sometimes I have to honor myself in the moment. But then like my mom lives I'm talking for 1 second, please. Okay, can you sit down?
Yeah.
Okay, you can put those on, that's fine. And you know, so it's just interesting to see how that kind of plays out in my relationships too, about how like if one person doesn't do something, how it affects another person, and
Yes.
how like living in that space where if we all just kind of, you know, did it out of the cleaning out of a place of like, oh, well, we just like this to feel clean, instead of feeling like we have to clean out of a place of obligation.
I have to,
Even
I should. If I don't, then.
Yeah. Or like,
Yeah.
oh, I know this is gonna feel better if I clean it, so
Why
just clean it for that reason, instead of, you know, cleaning it and then being mad at the person for leaving the mess.
Yeah.
Right? Because like something else that plays a dynamic in especially living with as many people as we do right now.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. And then just has me thinking about roles and like my roommates and stuff back in the day. So it's just like so many reflection pieces coming through about like
Yes.
how the energy could have just been chaos based off of that embodiment in itself.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's also this piece of like, let's normalize not assuming that our husband needs like a clean house in order for him to be at peace, because like I really genuinely just assumed that that's what it is. That's just how it is. And then when it became clear, like I communicated something to Rob, like along those lines of like, well, if I don't clean things when you're done your hard day, like then you're gonna be even more stressed or whatever. And he's like, what? Like that is not even an afterthought. Like I'm not thinking about, oh, is there no crumbs on the ground when I'm finishing my day at work? Like I'm just excited to go sit on the couch and like chill with you. You know what I mean? Like I'm not thinking about like, oh, there's gonna be no
Right.
dishes in the sink kind of thing. Like that's not going to make or break the quality of my evening. So it's like it's actually a really conditioned thing within us as women, that is what makes us this like desirable, lovable companion, you know, is like just having a clean space. But it's like, no, as I said, like have a clean heart, and that will be felt. Like your husband will feel so at peace walking into a house that's messy if you're at peace, because you're like, you know what, I chose not to force my body today beyond its limits and beyond its capacity, and now I can just be soft with my man today and chill with him and just be kind and loving like I am, you know, rather than being pent up and stressed out and quite frankly resentful, and that being really fucking felt.
Well, so there was also something too that was going to bring up like I haven't really been in the group space much talking about what's been going on in my life, but that's because I've been busy with everything in my life and being present. And so my mother-in-law was here for 3.5 weeks. And for anyone listening or those who don't know, like, you know, I she means well, but she is a woman of her trauma. And when I stayed with her for 3.5 weeks when she was in my space, I got to see firsthand and listening to her share her experiences and her stories where I had to stop and like hold my own body, because I was like, oh my God, her normalizing her trauma and how it speaks through the way she's conditioned in the house. So like she literally was putting things back in my cabinets her own way. She was buying, like, she buys her own cleaning products. She does, when she was staying here, she was doing all sorts of things. And my house had never been cleaner, never been more spotless. I'm talking. I said, you need to say, excuse me.
Excuse me. Is these all dirty?
Yeah, no, they're all clean. You just threw them on the floor. So my mom or my mother-in-law, like, it would never felt any, like, it was so clean. But when I walked into my house, it didn't feel welcoming. Like, it was like clean, it looked good, but I just like, it didn't feel welcoming to me. Now my mom, after my mother-in-law left, my mom moved in. So it's like two different energies. My mom moves all of her things in here, right? And my house was trashed, just trash. There's crap everywhere. But I looked in the house and I was like, oh my God, like, this feels so good. Like, no matter, like, all the crap on the floor, all the boxes and the shredded tape everywhere of all this moving clutter and things in the space, like, I couldn't deny that the things she was bringing into this space made it feel more cozy, more like home. And I just recognized in that moment that sometimes the mess is literally like, that is home. Sometimes the mess, it can be home. It doesn't need to be like totally spotless. So I'm not stressing myself out to clean anymore like I was doing before. So I feel really good about that. But before it was like, now my husband does come home and he will acknowledge the mess, but instead of me getting worked up and feeling like I have to clean things, I just tell him, well, if you don't like it, you can, pick it up right now, or I'll get to it later.
Yeah. Truly though, it's very simple.
If it really bothers you, well, then you take a hold of your inner Martha, or what I mean, and just like, you go to town, like,
Absolutely, nothing's stopping you. Yeah,
that way. So just love all of these pieces that you brought in, and gonna listen to this all again and digest the ending a little bit more about the archetypes, because I just also want to say how I love that you're bringing biblical reference into these spaces. Like, I know like a lot of people may feel discouraged or be challenged by that, but I think what's been very challenging for me in the New Age community is the New Age being too New Age for Jesus and too New Age for the Bible. And I'm like, well, I can't lie that the Bible led me to my redemption and my salvation of my soul. But like, Jesus was a leader in that. But I also don't deny the universal laws of the universe, and that we can pull truth from everywhere if we just have a solid foundation of what we are spiritually aligned with in our own bodies. So I just want to say, I love that you're bringing and weaving these things in, because the teachings of the Bible are so powerful when we can separate ourselves from like all or nothing energy, and just look at them full face. And there's so much about homemaking in the Bible. There's so much of it, and being a loyal wife. And I found some accounts that were very like, challenge, like, oh, Bible and the wife, and kind of being like like of a devoted partner, like almost like not worshiping your partner, but like boasting your partner, basically, like the man that he is, and showing up in that energy. And a lot of feminist energy would be like, no. And it like was like, I was like, why am I feeling so negative towards this? Like, why do I feel angry at this? And really digesting that. So I love that. And I
feel that.
So
I so feel that. That like conditioned feminist in me being like, no, fuck no. And that's also where the shame comes from, right? Is like, just, I definitely had to dissolve layers of shame, even still now with my mom, of like, just fully owning that this is like the path my life is taking. Like, I feel a lot of shame still around my mom, because she's so like really went against her primal design and destiny to like literally survive and thrive as a woman in this world. I see her, I get it. But for me, she basically resents me for being able to be a more organic woman. And it definitely, I feel shame around that sometimes still with my mom. But that's like the final thread, I'd say, of shame that's left in terms of being a home economist. But like it definitely runs so deep. There's so many conditioning layers. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. But that's why I'm so grateful for communities like this. Yeah, it's never too late to begin. I'm so grateful for communities like these where we can have these kinds of conversations and where truly like every theme is invited in, you know, um, and where different types of conversations can coexist that in other spaces aren't able to coexist. So thank you for your acknowledgement and your affirmation. I'm so glad that me weaving in like biblical truths is landing for you. It's definitely discouraging and repelling a lot of people from my field, but like I'm completely okay with that. And I know God be doing his work. So I'm like, thank you. But yeah, I'm really excited for more of y'all to tap into this one and for y'all to tap in more than once to just keep like digesting and absorbing the goodness for you here. I'm excited for, as I said, for another batch to drop in now that I've fully emptied this batch for y'all. I feel a lot more brewing on these themes and threads and topics. So definitely stay tuned. Please keep sharing with us in the group your integrations and illuminations upon receiving this transmission and teaching. Are we feeling complete? Does anyone else want to share anything else? Are we feeling good? All right, we're feeling good. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I'll upload this recording in the next hour or so, depending on where my internet is at and what its mood is right now. I trust you'll all have a beautiful day. I know you're kind of sort of just getting started, so have a beautiful and blessed day. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing yourselves and your energy, and we will be in touch.